Good evening, everybody. And if you're just tuning in, you are listening live to United Public Radio Network. I am your host, Lorilei Potvin, and you're listening to the Angel Rock. And by the way, if you are listening, come on over to one of our Facebook pages. We've got UFO Paranormal Radio Network on Facebook. We have Joe Montaldo's page, the owner and producer, usually, of UPRN. We give him a shout out because he makes this all possible. Without him, we would not be coming to you from all over the world. If you've never been to my show, welcome. My show, I say, cover all aspects of the supernatural, whether that's UFOs, ETs, it could be cryptids, it could be actual paranormal, and then we do a little bit of truth seeking in there, as well as I always have a positive focus on my show, and I like to help people learn about the gifts that we all possess, how to access your intuition, teach about energy, things like that. And speaking of myself, I should introduce myself. My name, like I said, is Lorilei Potvin. I'm a Canadian, even though we are broadcasting to you from New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm a psychic medium. I'm also a crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, a spiritual teacher and mentor, as well as a registered nurse. Now, tonight I have a fellow Canadian guest, and I'm going to introduce her. She's been on my show before. I want to give out a shout out to actually two of my former guests. Hey, Constance, I haven't seen you in forever. Constance Victoria Briggs and Dave Pertella. So thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. So my guest, I had this already, Karen, and it crashed on me. So I might just have to go from memory since I know you very well. So Karen is Canadian. She is from Alberta. I'm going to have to wing it because my page, of course, never stays open when I want to do this. She is a health transformation coach. She's also a podcaster. She makes beautiful organite. I like to call her a spiritual teacher because she does a lot of teaching. And in her muggle life before, she was a social worker. She's done activism for a long time. She is a fellow truth seeker. And Karen, welcome. Please tell me if I've missed anything else because you have a vast bio. Welcome.
Oh, no, that was lovely. Thank you very much. And
Excuse me.
it's really good to be back on your show. Thank you
Mhm.
so much for having me.
Well, she said, love you, ladies. I love you too, Constance. And I think you've probably met Karen. You've met Constance before, haven't you, Karen? I'm sure you have. Yes,
Mhm.
I thought so. And Dave knows as well. He says, hi, Lauralee and Karen. Welcome, guys. I will warn everybody because a lot of people go to my Facebook page, which you can, but I can't see the comments over there. That's why I always tell you, come on over to the YouTube channel or one of the Facebook pages. We are also on Twitch under the same name, UFO Paranormal Radio. We are also on Twitter. We're all over the place. You can find us live and come and watch the show because you can see us. And unless you're driving, of course, then we don't want you to watch. But otherwise, it's more interesting, kind of like watching TV, right? But the reason I had Karen on, Karen is a very close friend of mine. I have a few very close friends that I work on. We call it truth seeking. Now, we're going to talk a little bit in code this evening because we are on YouTube just to be safe and we want to keep things kosher with the network. So, but what we were talking about is what is going on globally in this world. And, the nice thing about when you are an intuitive, which I believe Karen is, she may not always say she is, but she's very intuitive. She's very in tune with her guides, which she will talk about always. I know she does on air and off, as do I. And we were comparing notes the other day. And, you hear people, you hear about the left, and the world is so divided versus the right. And then you've got people that consider themselves awake, not woke, but awake or truth seekers. I'm actually wearing my truth seeker shirt I made I like to wear it when I do my show, especially when I'm talking about these type of topics. And what we're finding, and again, no judgment here, but I think there's a fair amount of fear, regardless whether you are still quote unquote asleep or considered awake. And what we are seeing in the various different communities are people are expecting almost like a knight, a shining knight on a white horse or steed to come rescue them, whether that's in the ET, UFO communities, whether it's those that are really vested in the 17th letter of the alphabet organization, or no
Mhm.
matter what it is, we're hearing this. Some people even, and this is not knocking anybody, by the way. A lot of people are very deeply religious and believing that Jesus is coming back, but somebody is coming back to save them. And when Karen and I compared notes, we didn't quite get that from our guides, did we, Karen?
No, not at
Mhm.
all, not at all. Now, I just want to make myself clear that I mean absolutely no disrespect to
Absolutely.
honest-hearted Christians.
Hmm.
They're beautiful. Every religion
Yes.
has its beautiful, beautiful people who are very sincere in what they believe, and I'm not knocking anything,
Hmm.
but
Neither of us
um,
are. Neither of us are. Hmm.
but we know that the Bible says that the Antichrist is coming before the Christ, and we haven't seen that yet. That's one of the things. The other thing is there's supposed to be 1,000 years of peace before the Antichrist and then Christ. So, it's not like I just respect the Bible, but I do personally see it as being very full of symbolism and metaphor, and it's a wonderful guide to life and a teaching aid. But I got to tell you, there are quite a few people who go to church and profess to be Christians, and they're not even very nice people. They have a concept, once saved, always saved. And
Hmm.
they go, okay, well, I've accepted
Excuse me.
Jesus as my personal savior. I'm saved. I can just pray and be forgiven and
Hmm.
go about their life. And they stay asleep. And I think that religion has really put that into the psyche of humanity. So
Hmm.
we're always looking, especially in the Western world, we're looking for saviors.
Hmm.
Now, there are past presidents that people are waiting to come back with
You're
all the
reading
white
my
hats.
mind because I was just thinking I forgot to mention that. Yes, a past president. There's,
Yeah,
depending on what community it is. Sorry, carry on,
yeah.
Karen. I mean to cut you off
No, it's all good. And he's gonna come back with the white hats. Yeehaw! And save everything, Western shoot 'em up style.
there. Hmm.
And there are some really I don't know, I think they're sincere, but people who have, I don't know, millions of viewers who are claiming they have intel and claiming that they're going to
Hmm.
know that they know that this is going to happen. And so what's happening? Okay, and I'll just touch on one other aspect of that is the intergalactics.
Hmm.
And so there are so-called representatives of the Federation of Planets and stuff like that. And they're claiming that they've cleaned out all the problems on the deep underground military bases. And the
Hmm.
reason we have to stay in and they're doing the lockdown isn't for what we think. It's because they need us out of the way so that they can round up the cabal. And there's all this jazz that they're
Hmm.
also saying as well. And it's the same thing, but a different kettle of fish, but it's the same thing. And it's basically like, go back to sleep. We're looking after everything. There's
Or
nothing you
grab
need
your
to
popcorn, grab
do.
your popcorn,
Yeah,
sit back and enjoy the show. The white, well, do the symbolism. I'm being very careful with the words we're using because the
okay.
stuff we're talking about
Yeah.
have it all. They have it all. They're just sit back and watch the show. Hmm. And we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing that, Karen. And what's
Mm-hmm.
really, I've said this before, and Dave, you're absolutely right. You said it in a nutshell, some of the stuff. Well, well, even about the Egyptian, we're not, I don't know about that, but just the first sentence you said, personal responsibility. And we're going to get into that tonight. But regardless of what it is that I find that, when we're sorry, I know what I was going to say. So I lost my train of thought here is you're from Canada, I'm from Canada. We have friends from all over the world. And again, this is not knocking anybody with any judgment. We're just going to share what we're getting from spirit. And I've compared notes with a few of my close friends, not out telling them what I'm getting. I ask them, and it's very similar to what we've both received. And we kind of did it that way with each other as well. We just didn't
Mm-hmm.
compare notes and say, oh, yeah, I got that. It was kind of different conversations that we realized this. And of all people, in the US, I have never seen a more patriotic country than the US. If anybody was going to rise up and have their patriots speak up, never allow things to get where they've gotten, it would be the US. And every time I've said this, people that have said, well, no, everything's fine. They've asked us to stand down. We're just sitting back peacefully waiting. And the more and more we peacefully wait, folks, um, the more rights we lose. And I'm not saying rise up with guns and pitchforks and your torches. No, but the more we sit back and just wait and wait and wait. And I don't know about you guys, but over history has shown us whenever something is taken away, we don't just get it given back for no reason. We have to really, there's no other word for it, fight for it. We do, right, Karen?
Oh, absolutely, Lorilei. The
Mm-hmm.
other thing is, I can't remember the name of it, but there was an instruction video that was produced about 20 years ago talking about how the Illuminati works. Oops, I'm not, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that word.
No.
Okay, how, okay,
We'll
okay,
just
I'll just
call
say
them, we'll call them
how
the dark side. We'll call them the dark side.
okay, how the dark side works
Mm-hmm.
and how they're going to pull off everything. And they're very clear in this training video that they are
Definitely.
creating a left and a right side, which are the left and right wings of the same bird. But they're also going to create alternatives so that everybody feels they're being represented. So if
Mm-hmm.
you don't identify with the right or the left, all those other voices are going to, or I should say, believers are going to be streamed into some of this alternative stuff. And what clued me in was I was tired of the, oh, we'll just wait until, January the 6th. Oops, I shouldn't use that word either. I'm
Okay.
just using a random number here. Say
Okay.
January 12th, 2021. That's when everything's going to happen, and you're going to see it all resolved. And then it's going to be June, and then it's going to be September, and then and I went, this is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go, oh, well, they couldn't do it because of this or because of that. And I just went, you know what? That's not what I'm getting from spirit at all. What I'm getting from spirit is that this is a war of good versus evil, absolutely. And there are unseen forces that are involved, absolutely. But we have a large part to play in this. And the first part is to get right within our own bodies, to take care of our own health, to have sovereignty over our own health, and not just do as we're told. If you think about it and you're convinced this is what you want for whatever reason, and you've done research and you've looked into it, that's great. I would never tell anybody that they're wrong, because I don't believe they are wrong. But for people that are just going along and doing as they're told, and then relying on this external savior figure to come in and fix everything, no, I'm sorry. I'm getting that I need to speak out and speak my truth more, which means that we need to reclaim our power, and we got a lot of power. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of power. We need to wake up. We need to face some really inconvenient and uncomfortable facts. And the other thing, the main tool I believe that's being used against us is fear.
Mm-hmm.
Fear is a very powerful weapon. So what are people afraid of? Well, they seem to be afraid of dying, because the system is set up so that we don't really address the issues of dying. We don't really allow a proper grieving process for people. We don't understand death. We don't even understand spirituality, because it's in the powers that be's best interest that we don't understand it. Would you agree with any of that, Lorilei?
Oh, absolutely. And again, as always, and I have great respect for people that say this as well. You don't have to trust a word we're saying, but please take the time. And I'm going to use an example here, and then I'm going to address what you said, Karen. There is a viral post going around right now, and it's from Australia, and it's of a distraught father, and rightfully so. And he took
Mm-hmm.
his 7-year-old for the jab, we'll call it, and thinking he was doing the right thing. And right away, the little one had side effects, and he brought him in. He was sent home, and 2 nights later, he heard his 7-year-old yell from the bedroom, and he found him on the floor. And this little guy died in the ambulance. Now, most sadly and unfortunately, this is not something really rare or abnormal. There were people calling it out, saying it was fake and they're lying. Who in God's name would lie about something about that, first of all? Second of all, it was verified it is true. And this isn't the only thing. My whole point is, and somebody else brought this up, this isn't my thought, but as a new parent, and we're all guilty of it. If you've had children, you got a new pet, you're out reading about the latest, safest car seat, the safest crib, what's the best, do I breastfeed? Do I formula feed? God forbid if I have to formula feed, what do I do? There's all this research, okay? But when it comes to bringing your child for something like this, and this father found out, and I cried when I read it. My heart broke because he knows now. He's begging people, don't go do this. I have to live with this for the rest of my life. He said, I'm trying to look after a 2-year-old. My wife is in the hospital, heavily medicated. And he said, I had no idea. And again, we're not telling you or this to scare you. What we're telling you is do your research, do your homework, because there's things that we take the time to do our research and do our homework. That's why I shared this story. But my whole point is exactly what you said, Karen. And what this is really about, I think, and I'm going to paraphrase, is this is about humanity standing together as one, as a human race, putting aside your differences, putting aside any hatred, any racism. I don't believe racism is quite as rampant as, some, I don't want to say governments would like us to believe. But putting it aside, it's about realizing it's about service to others. We still need to take care of ourselves, because if we don't, we can't pour from an empty cup. We need to take care of ourselves first so that we can give to others, and recognizing that everything we have been told, everything we have been taught is absolutely untrue. We are more powerful than we have ever been led to believe. We have more gifts than we have ever been led to believe. And this is about uniting as one. So, yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Karen. And again, you don't have to believe us. But like I said, I'm getting this from my guides. Now, people have asked me before listening to the show, what are guides? I always tell people, and I'm sure Constance can chime in if she's still here. She's written many a book about many things, but the Encyclopedia of Angels I know she's written. But we all have guides. The day you're born, we have angels, we have guides, we have ascended masters, we have all kinds on the other side. You are never alone. And whether you believe in them, they believe in you. You want to work more closely with them, all you got to do is let them know, give them your permission. They respect that we have free will. But when you make that connection, they're here to help us succeed. They're here to help us have a good life. That is our birthright, to have a life that is abundant, that we're happy, that we learn things here as we grow. We learn and we grow is what I'm going to say. I believe we have lessons when we come here that we learn. Some people may not. But what I'm saying is we're not here to be miserable. We're not here by accident. So that's who we're talking about when we say our guides. Sorry, Karen, I got off track there. Go ahead.
No, it's all very, very relevant. And I want to just add that, yes, guides, it can be angels, it could be your guardian angel, it can be your ancestors,
Yes.
your dearly departed favorite grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't believe me, reach out to them, because that's kind of the thing. We got to ask. They don't just come in.
Ask them for a sign.
Yeah, ask for a
That's
sign.
Mm-hmm.
Ask for a sign.
And be very definitive, super definitive, be with them. And that's the best, because you say, I just need a sign. Well, how are you going to know what the sign is? Be really definitive what you want.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. And, we can even call on scholars from the past that we're really, that we want information about.
Mm-hmm.
I think that all these amazing people that have like YouTube channels and things like that talk about all the information they've discovered about the ancient megaliths or ancient Sumerian
Mm-hmm.
language and texts and all that. A lot of that just comes to them. They just know where to go to look. And
Mm-hmm.
it's because they're communicating with their guides.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that the whole concept of extraterrestrial seems to be
Karen, you are
changing
reading
into
my
more
mind.
of
I
a,
don't know how this happens on this show. I must say it 100 times. I'm just thinking this and you say it. I have to say it out
you
loud.
know,
Sorry, go ahead.
well, that's just sort of moved into more of
Excuse
a
me.
spiritual realm because the beings who are from other worlds, they may be from etheric worlds, they may be from interdimensional worlds, they might be from another timeline, they might be from parallel worlds, they may be corporeal or non corporeal. And really, none of them travel the way we travel. Where if you want to go from Canada to Europe, you get in a boat and you travel. They don't travel like that. They
Mm-hmm.
have instant conscious movement amongst this amazing
Mm-hmm.
universe. And another thing I wanted to say is everything we're taught is a lie. So, for instance, when I look around this room, if I consider all what's called empty space, so not my computer, not my desk, not my teacup, not my printer, but all this stuff in between, that is not empty space. That's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
That is filled with all kinds of things and life of more diversity than we could ever imagine. So, sometimes, you may not want to have company and you may want to tell any beings that are around you to buzz off, which you can
You can.
anytime you want. But you can also welcome into your realm, unseen forces that can help you. And, that's the
Mm-hmm.
biggest tool of fear, was to teach people that when you're dead, that's it. And yet they say, oh, if you're good, you go to heaven, and if you're bad, you go to hell. But that's just another tool to maneuver you into doing what's best for whatever the authority is.
I wanted to add something on that. As a nurse and professionally as well as personally, I've studied near-death experiences for 40 years. I believe I had one as a toddler myself. And I can tell you from these experiences, and you'll have naysayers. One of the biggest naysayers out there was Dr. Eben Alexander. He was an atheist, he was a neurosurgeon, he didn't believe in any of this, thought it was absolute crap. Well, lo and behold, Dr. Alexander got very, very ill and got meningitis and went into a coma and died during the coma. When he came back, lo and behold, was he telling a different story. Now, this man has now given up neurosurgery, he's traveling the world, talking about his story and sharing this with people. You ever want to be fascinated? You may not believe adults. Look into children that have had near death experiences and what they share. Waking up, never met their great grandmother, and could look at a picture and tell you exactly who it is in a picture. There's all kinds of fascinating stories about this. I believe seriously that Earth, and there's many beings that want to come here, we are eternal. We are not this body in this life. This is just one lifetime. We have had hundreds upon thousands of past lives. Now, depending on who you talk to, some people think there's only a few. I really believe in my own experience, my research, and what I've learned from my guides. We've had many, and we go on forever. But the reason why so many beings want to come here and is such a gift to be here, especially during this time, we are here for a reason. It's been a few days I've asked why am I here, but I know we are all here for a reason in this time, specifically what's going on. But the reason why people want to come here, as I understand it, Earth is one of the greatest places to have the most soul growth, if you will. We come in here in this clumsy, fragile, heavy body. We come in here with spiritual amnesia. So we don't remember any of our past lives. We don't remember what we've learned. We don't remember people that we knew. Like I always call it transitioning back home when we pass away. And we don't remember people that they'll all welcome you with open arms when you come back. I'm getting goosebumps telling you that. Actually, that's my sign for truth. But they will welcome you. But because it's a hard place to come, It really, really is one of the most difficult places and incarnations, but again, one of the greatest potentials for growth and learning for our souls. Right, Karen?
Oh, really,
Hmm.
absolutely. And it's like a proving ground.
Hmm.
So I don't know if you've heard the concept of a touchstone. A touchstone. Do you know what a touchstone is?
I've heard
So
that refresh. Let me know what you're saying, and I'll tell you if it's the same thing that I
okay,
think it is.
it's kind it's kind of an archaic term, but a touchstone is what they used to use to prove what metals were. So anybody
Hmm.
could come up with something shiny and say, "Oh, this is gold and this is
Yeah,
worth a
I know
lot of
this.
money."
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
if you drag it across the touchstone, you can tell by the pattern and the residue
Hmm.
that's left on it whether or not
Hmm.
that's really gold. And that's what they
Right.
used for thousands of years
Yeah.
to prove what it was made out of.
Yeah.
So we come here and we have forces and tensions and stresses, and we have all these things happening, and every single day, in fact every hour, every minute is a do-over,
Hmm.
where we don't get it right. Okay, next time we try a different way until we get it right or closer to
Hmm.
right. And that's those that are working on that are becoming these
Hmm.
highly evolved, um, amazing people with special gifts, and the gifts are there for everyone, but
Yes.
you need to be at a point where you can raise your frequency. So
Hmm.
if you're so caught up, and I'm talking the world you, if people are so caught up in terror over
Yep.
germs, terror over other nationalities, terror over ET, terror over this, that, and the other,
Politics.
they're
Politics.
not spending any time in this glorious life that we've been given, this precious gift that we've been given. There's no time from all the distractions and addictions that people are doing to try to cover up all those awful feelings. And so they're not doing the self-reflection. They're not going out to the woods and really contemplating their lives and what's going well and what's not going well and how could we do things differently. That
Hmm.
kind of thinking never happens for people that are low frequency.
Hmm.
And I'm not trying to put down humanity, but I'm going to say there's a lot of people who have really drunk the Kool-Aid. And so
Hmm.
we're born into a construct, an artificial construct, our societies and our cultures and
Hmm.
religions. And we're told how we're supposed to behave and how we're supposed to proceed. So everything's orderly and tidy for the bureaucracies.
Hmm.
But when is our spirit allowed to fill our lives and fill our bodies and give us this great gift of being on this planet? There's so much to be happy about, but we got to be focusing on those things that raise our energy. And I know you probably got something to say about that too.
Well, I do, but some people say, because I know I used to hear this all the time when I first started, following this path many years ago. Raise your vibration, raise your vibration, raise your vibration. I kept saying,
Mhm.
what the heck does that mean? So, what it means for those that may not understand is spending time doing things that bring you joy. So, a lot of people say, and practicing gratitude, being around people that support you, love you, and make you feel good. There'll be people saying, well, I have a horrible husband or partner, or, my family's awful, or you know what? One of my favorite things from one of my favorite shows, Supernatural, is family. It doesn't end in blood. It doesn't. Sometimes your family is who you choose. I'm one of those people. I'm testimony to that. Not my immediate family, not my children, but you know what? I had to make a choice. I'm going to tell you guys, I was suffering health wise. Very young woman, many, many health issues. And I made a choice that I can't change anybody. The only thing I can change is me. The other
Mhm.
thing with raising your vibration or frequency means when I say spending time in joy, gratitude brings more wonderful things. Random acts of kindness without telling anybody what you've done is more of a gift to you than the person that you can help. The other thing, say you're having a really crappy day. You couldn't muster a smile if you tried. Everybody has a favorite funny movie. Turn it on, forget the world, and start laughing. Open your windows. I mean, it's been where we live sometimes minus 40, minus 50. You can still open a crack, get your boots, get yourself bundled up, and get outside. Get we're meant to be in nature. We are meant to be with other people. With what's been going on over the last 2 years, we've been taught to, that other people are dangerous. If you can't
Mhm.
get together or be together physically for whatever your reasoning is, besides it may legally not be an option depending on where you live, have a party online. Get together with your people. Most of my friends are all over the world. I really don't hang out with anybody in my own city. I don't. Um, because those are my people. Those are my people I found. They make me feel good. I have wonderful, stimulating conversations with them. I learn from them. They learn from me. And, I'm even seeing a lot of fighting, even within communities that supposedly are like minded. We don't have to bring other people down. You know what? We can agree to disagree. I respect what you have to say. You respect what I have to say. We don't necessarily agree with each other, but we've heard each other. And that's all that matters. And, think about what anybody would want in this world. You want people to be kind to you. A lot of people want to be liked. You want to be heard. That's all anybody wants. And so, when somebody says something and then they get attacked for saying it, I got to put yourself in other people's shoes. So this is what it's talking about, raising your vibration. There is one thing I do want to add with that, Karen, is tonight I decided to watch something. And I think it's really important to learn from history. And the history that we have been taught is not correct. And for some reason, this came up in my feed, my YouTube feed, and I decided to go with it. And it was put out by the History Channel quite a few years ago called The Third, and I'll spell it Reich. I know how to say it, but just in case. I started watching that, and it's very easy to see how that developed in World War II and where we
Mhm.
are now. So what I'm saying is if you're able to, there's a really great person out there, Dan Willis. I know you probably know him as well, Karen. And
Mhm.
he has gone back to 1900 to connect the dots. You can look him up. He's on most social media. I can't think, I know he's got marcelvogel.org, but I'm trying to remember what his other website is. Either one connects to each other. Um, I wish I had a year to go through his website with the amount of information in there. But even watching this documentary, I was horrified to hear what they were doing. We are doing the same thing all over again, aren't we?
Yeah, and kind of makes sense why. I'm not saying they are, but it does kind of look like, even though everyone's talking about protecting the old people because they're vulnerable, it seems to me to be the other way around. Because when we're gone, who's going to tell the truth about what we've experienced and what the past was like? I mean, my grandparents were pioneers. They traveled in a covered wagon. My mother grew up without any running water or any plumbing, and so the thing is that there was a whole different reality then to what we're seeing today. The way people ate was very different. Everything was different. But who's going to bear witness to the way things were if we're all gone? Because especially now, old people have been separated from grandchildren, separated from families,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if it's the same there, Laura Lee, but on the West Coast, all the hospices and old folks' homes are given a drug to give the old people that basically euthanizes them. They're seen as no value whatsoever, and they euthanize people now. So
I know they do. I can't speak from experience because I'm not seeing any. I do have a family member that's quite ill. I know they haven't been euthanized and they're not young, but they're not super elderly. They're in their mid to late 70s, but they are palliative. But that, yes, that is going on. That definitely, but this is the problem, right? And it was so beautifully, beautifully, beautifully crafted in such an evil, evil, evil way. And I had a huge revelation because I've been watching a lot of old things that I haven't watched in a while. And one of them is a series out there. I'll spell it for you. It's the V word, but it's actually jabbed, we'll call it, and jabbed too. Now, I have a son, I mentioned it many times, that's adult that has severe autism. When I started watching this documentary again, and I sent it out to people, and I said, replace the word autism with anything going on right now. And what it made me realize is I really believe this was a practice scenario many years ago to practice perfect what's going on now. And the reason I say that is, if you think about this, how many men do you need to populate a large city or town, really? If it's all full of women, think about it. One, two,
Mm-hmm.
maybe three. When you
Mm-hmm.
think about autism, 35 years ago, it was one in 35,000, or sorry, one in 100,000 boys. Sorry, it's three times more prevalent in boys than it is in girls. It's now 1 in 32 to 1 in 48, depending on where you live in the world. And they're professing that in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to be one in every second child born under the spectrum. I've had this conversation actually with Dave on the weekend. And again, I understand unless you live with it or you know somebody with it, there's just too many things to focus your attention on. So I always say, unless it's in your bubble, you don't realize this. But these
Mm-hmm.
kind of averages are also going on with dementia and things like this. So what I'm saying is that this is rising exponentially, right? But when you look at those two movies and you go through it, you see how what was done and how it was done. You realize that, yep, this was part of the practice scenario because autism didn't even exist before 1930. It wasn't because it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't documented, it did
Mm-hmm.
not exist. And I always say I am not anti jab, I am pro truth, pro transparency, and that if we're going to be injecting things into people, we better make sure it works. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have not been told. Go ahead, Karen.
Well, I was going to say, right now, I believe the whole lid's being blown off
I
this
do
thing.
too. Yeah.
And, I think it's going to get messier before it gets better. My guides have also told me that things are going to get a little messy, and we may not have our creature comforts
It could.
because of, issues with transportation of goods and things like that.
Hmm.
And, sorry, I forgot what I was going to say.
About no, it was about our creature comforts because I know we're seeing this about with
Mhm.
food. We knew this was coming. But then again, what do? You're good, and the thing I've been saying, and I don't know what the answer to this is because what I'm finding is things are moving very quickly right now. It took 2 years to get to this point, and every day there is more and more and more and more coming to the surface, and it needed to. But I
Mhm.
think that those that had no idea or chose not to see what was there, I don't even think the word rage is going to cover it. I don't. That is when I am very concerned about what is going to be the repercussions, if you will, because the truth will come out whether people want to see it or not. It is going to come out. I didn't get a chance to send it to you, Karen. There was somebody over in the UK that went and got jabbed yesterday and ended up developing, I guess, a bunch of lumps on their head. So they called their doctor and they got it done because they had to travel in the future. They said they just thought it would be easier. And they taped the phone call on video. And the doctor was very careful about what they said, but it was very interesting conversation with the fact that there was a lot of information, she said, the doctor, that has come to light that wasn't available before. That wasn't true, but nonetheless, and this is over in the UK, this is just one doctor saying this. It's on Facebook. For how long, I don't know. But this doctor said that she believes that these jabs are going to be pulled very soon. Now, I don't know if that's over in the
Yeah.
UK or what because of what's been found. Hmm.
Mhm.
So let's hope the rest of the world follows suit.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Oh my goodness. The
Hmm.
other thing too is there's so many interlocking issues too. Like for instance, there's all these issues with the missing children and what's happening with children. I don't want to say too much about it because it's too horrible. For one
Hmm.
thing, people can do the research, but that's being covered up. And the other thing too is, can we talk a little bit about Gazara?
Please, because I have been inundated with Nasara and Gasara, and we're in it, and this is another thing where the goalpost keeps moving, and I have heard
Yeah.
since probably July that we are now in this, and all these wonderful things, and we're all going to be getting hundreds and thousands of dollars, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, well, I have a couple things I'd like to say about it. First of all, I want to go back to these representatives who claim to be representing the intergalactics,
Mhm.
and they're claiming that the bad people were given 5 months to undo their black magic spells and stuff, and then they're supposed to be transported off to a prison planet. But that doesn't make any sense to me, because you have your top level of evil, and then you've got the minions. That's the next level, and then you got more minions, and they're all doing it for greed and money. Well, that issue's not even being addressed here. Throwing more money at a corrupt and evil system, even taking away the leaders and leaving the next, ones
Yeah.
that'll just rise up to the top and take over again. It doesn't address any of that. And so the thing is, throwing money into this system is not going to fix it. This system was broken a long time ago. It got really broken over the last 100 years. Everything that we can afford, and I mean, I'm guilty of wanting to go out and get, new running shoes or new this
Mhm.
or new that. We all are. But, these are made in literally slave labor factories. And we're not caring about the fact that these people are working in these I forget, there's another name for it, but where all these designer clothes and everything are on the backs of people who are being held back and basically just slaves. And then
Mhm.
there's the whole prison system, which is doesn't work, and that's just a big money making organization. They got all the prisoners working, and they're sewing blue jeans and doing this and that. And so those of us that have lives of privilege, and even those of us that don't have a lot of money, we still live lives of privilege. And it's
Mhm.
on the backs of the suffering of other people. And
Mhm.
so the thing is that, like, if we bring manufacturing back to Canada, well, you're going to have to pay people living wages. We're going to have to pay more for our stuff, but we're so addicted to getting the stuff cheap and
Mhm.
getting it now,
But are we
that
really
that
getting
whole
it cheap?
system needs to get fixed.
Yeah,
Sorry, go
but we're
ahead.
not we're not getting it cheap. We're not.
No.
It's the people that bring it here that are the man that arrange the manufacturing where they do,
Yeah.
because most people, if they can, I have found, at least in North America, I can't speak for the rest of the world, that I have found, if they can afford to, like I know, especially in my city, many people I know, myself included, we do try to support local if we can. We
Yeah.
try to support Canadian made and what have you, and small businesses. But when you're getting into bigger names or these, especially those running shoes, blue jeans, you name it. What does it cost to
Mhm.
make a pair of blue jeans? And then when you slap a label on there with somebody's name on there, and then you jack the price up a thousand times the price, the only people that are getting the break, and it's horrific with the labor off of the backs of sweatshops, or child labor, are the people
Mhm.
that own the company, because they're not passing those savings on to the consumer, right?
Mhm.
And it's a
Mhm.
status symbol to go out and buy, for a while there, the red bottom shoes, Christian Louboutin shoes, or you had your Louis Vuitton. You see people, it's a suitcase. It's kind of ugly, actually, brown with a couple different shades of brown and a few little symbols. But this is what we're talking about here. And what did it cost to make it? And who made that? You're right. But when we're talking about Nasara and Gasara, if you're not sure what it is, like Dave put digital currency could solve it. I don't know, Dave. I've got reservations about it, because some of these markets are pretty volatile, and I think, just my feelings, I'd love to hear your thoughts too, Karen, with crypto. There's a lot of bad actors involved with this as well that I've seen when you follow the money. I think they've already thought of it. I think they're expecting that this is where humanity is going. And to be honest with you, and I could be wrong, I'm not a financier or financial wizard or anything. I think we need to go back to the gold and silver standard. I really do.
Mhm.
I don't know, Karen, what's your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are it just seems like money and corruption go hand in hand. Always have, it seems like it always will.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see us switch to a resource-based economy
Hmm.
rather than a money-based
Okay, so what
economy.
do you what does that look like, Karen?
What that means is that resources are like a currency. Like, for instance, if I'm given a healthy way to live and I'm allowed to expand my mind and go and doesn't matter what field, mathematics, it could
Hmm.
be spirituality, could be anything, then I'm bringing great value to humanity.
Hmm.
There's no need for us to have to buy anything. Everything is already here. Um, it's just that the way the whole marketing thing has come in and taken away the idea of, for instance, everyone can have a bit of a garden and grow a lot of their food within our neighborhoods. We can trade things with other people. So
Hmm.
I'm not saying that we want to get rid of money necessarily, but I'm saying that at least moving towards a resource-based economy where we see value in things and we're valued, and the effort we put in and our intellectual intelligence is also of value. It's not just all based on money, it's based on value. And a good idea on how that works is anyone who's ever been into the Star Trek or this
I
Next
was
Generation,
thinking that because I've
all of
always
those,
asked, yeah, but I've always
they
asked the
all have
question. Resources,
they have
yes.
a resource. Sorry,
Go ahead.
they have a resource based in the whole idea within. I know
But
it's
I've
just
often
entertainment.
said, what is their impetus for wanting to go to work besides that these people, it was an elitist kind of thing to be, and you obviously you had to train for it, you had to go to school for it, what have you, but to work. Like, what would be the impetus for people to work? Now, the only thing I could answer with that question is being off work as long as I have, with my back being hurt, and I am working. I work more now than I do probably when I worked 3 jobs as a nurse. But TV gets old fast. And I think we found over the last 2 years that people that said if only I had the time off to do things, and people have saw what time off does. Like, I don't know if maybe that would be the impetus for people to go do the things that they enjoy, that they're good at. And I agree with you that it could work, but how would we motivate people? Because there's a lot of people out there that have no clue why they're here or what their
But
gifts are. Or, hmm.
that's a lie that we've been fed, that we
Hmm.
need to work hard and we need to work long hours and we
No, we
need
don't.
to work, and we're no good unless we're paying into a system, and then the work that we do, we have to work. Well, what about instead people being healthy and happy and going off and pursuing their passions, music, art, it could be different
Yeah, but what if you got
sciences,
sick
it
people?
could
Like, I'm
be
a nurse.
horticulture.
Like,
It
I'm a
doesn't
nurse.
matter. We
You work
love
hard
to
as a
work.
nurse. I love my
Human,
job, but I'm telling you right now that unless you had 100 times the amount of healthcare staff that you do now, you could never just go to work for a couple hours. I mean, there were times I worked 18, 20 hours straight, say with a newborn baby. I couldn't leave. I couldn't even get a drink of coffee, go to the bathroom, get a cup of
yeah.
coffee. So
What
what
kind
I'm
of a
saying,
life is that?
no, but there's
What kind of
certain fields, is what I'm saying, that I don't know how what that would look like. I hear what you're saying for the majority of people, but there's certain professions, or you're always going to need firefighters unless we develop magical houses and things that never learn. And I'm not being facetious here, but you hear what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, I
saying?
know.
So we either
Oh
got to
yeah.
have,
Well, maybe you need more firefighters that work shorter shifts. I mean,
okay,
look at the way things are done in Europe. There are countries in Europe where nobody works more than maybe 5 hours a day. Everybody has a 2-hour lunch. They can go home and have lunch with their families, home cooked
Mm-hmm.
meals. People are given like 2 months vacation twice a year. All the things we need to be healthy and to thrive are
Mm-hmm.
given to them. They don't have a problem with people not wanting to go to work. People love to go to work. Everyone loves to contribute.
What
People love
country is
to.
this? Because the only one I can think of is Spain, but you still work later. You take 2 hours off to go to sleep. Like you can have a sleep if you want or whatever. And the bigger meal is at lunchtime in France versus stuff. And I know that some places in South America, they also have a siesta time, but I don't know. I've never heard of a country that does that.
Yeah, I
What
don't know if
country?
it's Holland or Sweden. It's somewhere around there. I learned about it on a documentary.
Hmm.
The guy who does all the who did
Michael, Michael.
the documentary called Bowling for
That's the
Columbine.
one I'm
That
thinking
guy.
of. Michael. Well, he's,
Okay, he
yeah.
made a documentary and they went into other countries and they looked at
Hmm.
how they deal with criminals, how
Yep.
they deal with the workforce, how they
Hmm.
deal, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's one of his more recent
I've
documentaries,
seen
eh?
it. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and he goes into that. The same thing as prison. They have completely different prison systems than they have here. It's a
Hmm.
completely different system. People don't, we don't even know what's possible because our minds have been so tied up and so much propaganda and so much brainwashing and
Hmm.
programming that we've never been had the time and the energy to be free enough to
Hmm.
even look at alternatives. And there are many alternatives.
Hmm.
There are people like I can't remember his name, Fomick, Reiner Fomick. He's talking about how this whole system's going to come down,
Yeah.
and everyone's going, oh, what will we do? What we do? He says, easy. He says, everybody within a region is just going to work within their region. They'll find out what resources they have, what skills they have, what do they need. They'll put it together. It's not going to happen overnight. And then you
Hmm.
do trade and everything else with other resources. And the person that was interviewing him was saying, yeah, but what about the countries? What about the countries? He says, no. He says, you work within your region. You just work within your region. And people will naturally emigrate and gravitate to the regions that resonate best with them. So there's a million ways of doing this, but we have to remove the linear thinking and the brainwashing and thinking that this has to be this way. No. That's what the construct is all about. The construct is to convince us that there is no other options. The experts and the politicians know what's best for us, that they're
Exactly.
in positions of power because they're smarter and they're specialists and they know what they're doing. They don't know anything. They get voted in because they got the best bullshit story dog and pony show. They don't know anything. Like
Or did they
really, and
really,
the
or
higher
did
you
they
go,
really get voted in? And I'm speaking for our country, no
well,
other
there's
country.
that. Then there's that too. Yeah, exactly.
I'm not talking about anywhere else in the world. We're from Canada, so hmm no,
And
I
I'm
hear
gonna
you. Hmm.
And I'm going to tell you something else. Is I saw some studies. I'm sorry, I can't just pull out of my brain what year and where to find the source. People can do their own research. But people who are working class or hovering poor or working poor or live in poverty or homeless people, they're so smart because they've had to survive. They've got a creative innovation within them that allows them to survive. And
Hmm.
that's something the higher echelons don't have. And
Well,
then a
that's an
lot of the higher
innate human ability, I think, because you never know how strong you have to be until strong is all you have, and it's true.
is all you have.
Hmm. Hmm.
Exactly. And the
Hmm.
other thing too is those of the higher echelons have proven over and over again they have little to no empathy. So they're
None.
sociopaths.
Hmm.
Sociopaths not only lack empathy, they do not understand or have any use for mercy or for true love
Or
or for
creativity.
all of the all the creativity, they have nothing. All they have is this rickety old system where everyone's now going, ha ha ha, the emperor has no clothes, they're running around naked, they got nothing. And we have everything. But going back to what you said earlier, I think it hinges on us burying our differences and respecting each other, in our own sovereignty, have being respected, and in other people. So you might go, okay, I wouldn't do it that way, but if that works for you and you're not hurting anybody,
Yeah.
go for it. People, it's so easy, and I've been there. I mean, I've worked very, very hard for the past 20 years to be able to look at people and have my gut reaction, or just want to call bullshit and then go, no, no, I'm not going to do that, because they have a right to their opinion. Do I want them coming up to me and challenging me on everything I think and say? No, I don't need to explain anything to anybody. The same is right for them, and I have to allow them. It's really helped me during these difficult times when we're so divided medically. I'll just say that some people have had procedures, others have not. Well, how do you cope with that, especially people near and dear to you? You still got to respect their choice. We got to respect their choice and love them anyway. And then that goes back to what you were saying really early on in this conversation about we're here for soul development. I'll tell you, the big thing that smartened me up is I realized one day I was going to die, and I went, oh my God, if I died today, what would they write on my tombstone? Poor Karen, she missed the boat. And I didn't want that. I went, no, no, no. And reincarnation, I don't want to come back and do this shit over again. So you know what I mean? I didn't want to miss the boat. I wanted to get what the essence of life is and live it.
I think
Sorry, I rambled on.
That's okay. I think you asked an important question there. And lots of times when I'm mentoring people, this comes up. And I think it's so imperative. And I think if we're having a hard time, and especially with working in palliative care, I know you've worked within the healthcare system yourself. I was joking when you in your muggle job, same as me, my muggle job as a nurse, yours was a social worker. But the thing is, and amongst many things that Karen has done, but one of the things I've always seen with people that are palliative, I tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt, people that most people had regrets. Most people were waiting until they had enough money or they had lost that 30 pounds or whatever it was. Maybe they'd accrued massive wealth and none of it meant anything. You know what they always said? I wished I told the people around me more that I loved them. I wish I had followed my dreams and not waited. I wish I had taken that trip that I had planned to take 10 years from now. I wish, because nobody is guaranteed tomorrow. So, building off of what you said, Karen, and this is really important, we're not trying to be morbid here, but I think it helps us see life and this world in a different perspective. Is if today was your last day on earth, how would you spend it? Who would you spend it with? And what would you do? What amends would you make? Well, think about it. If you can see people that you were angry with or whatever it was, and you had the warning that tomorrow was your last day, I'll bet you a lot of people would be calling people to apologize, to make. That's what I'm trying to say, because nobody is guaranteed tomorrow. And we really should be living every day like it's possibly your last day on earth, because you'd make it your best day. You'd go for your dreams. You'd, if you could travel and go from one place to another in the blink of an eye, like say it was Star Trek days, you could go wherever you wanted or go, you know what I'm saying? You would do those things. You would make it happen and make it so, if you will. We're Star Trek
Yeah,
analogy
make it
here.
so. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. And that's why I say, Karen, that was, I think, out of everything we've talked about tonight, and I think that this is what it's all about. I think exactly what you've said, the constructs that we believe. Like, even I asked you some questions about, in my own mind, trying to work this all out. And instead of me trying to figure it all out, we just all got to be on the same page, first of all. And then, you know what? You get the right group of people. We've had Dr. Carrie Madej on here. She spent most of the show talking about this, that we need to start building our own communities, like-minded communities. And, the other thing I've never understood since I've been a small child is why people think they need a leader. We all have a brain. We all
Mm-hmm.
are capable of thinking. Now, don't get me
Mm-hmm.
wrong when I say we don't need somebody telling us what to do. We are all capable of working cooperatively together, hearing
Mm-hmm.
each other, and say maybe you don't agree with somebody, but hey, give it a try. Hey, we'll give it a try for a day or two. Let's see how it works. Let's try my way. Compromise. This is what it's all about. And we're adults. And imagine if we could actually act like adults and do these kind of things. Imagine where the younger generation would follow, right? Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, look at what we do with our children. Okay, we teach them as preschoolers. That's not nice. We don't
Mm-hmm.
hit. You share. Be nice. Hugs. And then they get into kindergarten. They get into school, and then they're told, it's not appropriate to do this or to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get out of school, and by then they formed, well, some of us weren't so good at forming this, but most people form a false self that they take out into the social construct, and it follows all the rules, and it's all politically correct and all the rest of
Mm-hmm.
it, but it's not who you are. And so then you go home, and when you're behind closed doors, then you're more who you are.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with that is, first of all, what do you do with your shadow? Like, you got to deal with your shadow. And if you're not an authentic person, you're denying your shadow. So
Mm-hmm.
everyone's going out there pretending they're all perfect and going home and taking it out on the people they're supposed to love, taking
Mm-hmm.
it out on their defenseless pets, on their children, on this and that. And so the thing is that this is part of a training program that the construct has conspired to have us all fed into like a machine. Things were very different before World War II. World War II, well, my mom said, I don't know if this is true. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a bit here. But my mom said that all the good men got killed in World War I, and the men that couldn't go had some kind of problem, or they came back and they were shell shocked. It was so
Mm-hmm.
traumatizing. To go out and to murder people is very traumatizing, and not to mention all the other stuff that went on, right?
Living
And then
conditions and oh,
and then
terrible.
World War II, right? The best that were then of that generation went out, got either killed or came back with serious, serious problems while the men were away at war. The women did everything. We ran the country and we did it so well. They had to come up with a plan to get us out of the workforce so that the men could have their jobs, right? Because they
Mm-hmm.
had the construct set up a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they built the suburbs and then the advertising agencies, and women relied on women's magazines. And then there was all the rules that got created on, how you would entertain and have people over and be ever so polite, and you'd have to have the boss over for supper even though he's a jerk, and treat him like he's God, and all this stuff hatched out of that. And it's just one artificial construct after another, all meant to keep us from coming into our power. Bottom line. Sorry, I'm rambling tonight a
That's
lot.
okay. Well, we had a lot to say, but so we said we were going to talk about what people can do. But one of the things I do want to draw your attention to, and it was on the AJ McMillan show. I'm going to see if I can find this hypnotist's name. He's from Scotland,
Mm-hmm.
and he was phenomenal because he used to be a stage hypnotist. I know you've seen it, Karen. I've shared it with you. I've shared it with Dave as well. And he was talking about what people could do and what's going on in the world and why people can't just see. Many of us are saying, like, why can you not see this? Like, well, you just step back and take a look. Like, it's all there. I don't know why you can't see it. And I think Dr. Robert Malone recently talked about this mass hypnosis, basically. He had a big title for it. And I actually watched the psychologist that came up with this term and explaining it all. I think that's another reason why it must come into my field about what happened with the third, I'll say, Reich, and what happened over in Germany. And it was very similar because when people are in a state of fear, right? And
Mm-hmm.
get it, if what I'm saying is take a look at it. That's not what my whole thing is. But this gentleman that was the stage hypnotist, Look up AJ McMillan. You'll find it because my phone's not staying on here to find it. He was saying from day one when this started, he could see exactly what was going on because it was exactly some of the things that he would do as a stage hypnotist. He
Mm-hmm.
went through all the stages and what was being done, but the beautiful thing I loved about his talk was he too addressed many of the things we're talking about, including, so much division and argument and fighting and hatred with family and with friends. And he said, maybe you're aware of what's going on, but people won't hear you, and like people
Mm-hmm.
around you that you love. One of the things he brought up that was really important was if you approach somebody and you're desperate and you're anxious and you're like, you got to hear me, you got to hear me, people match the emotion and the energy that you put into it. And he said that's why it's escalating. So he
Mm-hmm.
gave some suggestions because I know I've met so many people that are so desperate for their loved ones to hear this. They really are,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't blame them. So his suggestion was, how did your relationships used to be before this all started? And he said, this is what we need to work on, is rebuilding these relationships and just focusing on the things we used to do before this all began. So if we used to laugh and joke all the time, or we used to do whatever, just start doing that. Start rebuilding the relationships that may be fractured. Then he said, what he does is he may sneak in like a video, a visual to show people what people are going through versus sending a bunch of science or what. Send something like that. Don't acknowledge it, don't ask about it, just send it and get right back into how the relationship would be if you were, well, because he talked about how hypnosis works and he talked about how the mind works. And he was really giving some useful suggestions for people because a lot of people feel like, what do I do? What do I do? I just can't sit back and watch this. And because
Mm-hmm.
people feel so frantic because the people they love so desperately and deeply, we've talked about this, we have our own families. How do you get
Mm-hmm.
them to hear you? Because I've said to so many people, and then I'll stop because I know you got something to say. Um, they're desperate and they're getting so much flack from people around them. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Don't send me anything more. Or I said, what's going to happen the more you keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing? People are going to see you coming. They're going to run a mile away because it's like, no, I don't want to fight with you, but I don't want to hear this. Because I've said to so many people, as strongly as you feel about your beliefs, they feel about their beliefs. Go ahead, Karen. Sorry, I know
Mm-hmm.
I can hear you in my mind. Like I got to add something.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So, yeah. So you were talking about mass formation
Thank
psychosis,
you.
also known as mass formation hypnosis, and it's from everybody being in a heightened state of fight or
Fear.
flight or hypervigilance all the
Hmm.
time, not knowing what to believe, being slammed this way and then that way and the next way, and so they start to dissociate. It's a coping mechanism, and when they're in that state, yeah, we can't just go and bang their head against the wall and wake them up. That
Hmm.
makes them withdraw even more.
Yeah.
But I think the ultimate weapon is patience, kindness, self-control. I'm telling you, just those things are so hard to do. There's faith. There's so many good things that we could be doing, but they're like positive weapons, because what they do is they disarm people and
Hmm.
they tell people that they matter.
Hmm.
And to be patient with someone, wow, it takes a lot of work. It
Hmm.
really takes a lot of work. For me, it's my cat. She drives me crazy, keeps me up at night, this, that, and the other. She's got some issues, but I adopted her and I told her I'm going to keep her for the rest of her life, no matter how bad she gets. But
Hmm.
anyway, just developing patience,
Hmm.
developing self control. Like, for instance, when I get stressed, I want to go to the trough and I
Hmm.
want to eat. And
See?
that's just how I am, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes I have to say, yeah, I know you want that. And I know you're feeling stressed, but guess what? You're not having it. You're
Hmm.
not having it, because I care about enough about myself to want to be as fully functioning as I can. And I can't do that if I'm dulling my senses with
Hmm.
food. And I'm just using my own faults as examples here. I'm not pointing at anyone else, but there's so many things that we could be doing. And if we're working on those things, we're not worrying. We're not looking to external sources to frighten us even more. And then, as I said too in the beginning, we're all going to die, guys. You know, right now there's 49 major volcanoes going off on this planet. There's coronal mass ejections coming. I'm not trying to scare you guys. I'm just putting it in context. You know, there are so many things. If you want to worry yourself to death, there's just tons and tons of things that you
can walk
you
out the door tomorrow and
you can slip in the ice and fall the wrong way, and that's the end of you. There's no point worrying about it. But like what you said, Lorilei, live now, live well, love well, get right within yourself. And we can always improve, you know, on everything from what we eat to what we're thinking to our entertainment. Start trusting ourselves. And then, as we said in the beginning too, reach out to your guides. Reach out to your guides and be amazed. And once you realize they're real, then the fun really, really begins.
Oh God, the whole class is with you. I mean, whatever you could do here, multiply that by 1,000,000 on the other side. The other thing I do want to add, I just thought of, the other important point that this hypnotist brought up that I hadn't even considered. He said those, and I'll just say globally, those that are consider themselves awake, but they're spending 23, 24 hours a day researching, and they're living in this future dystopia that they're finding in the research, and everything is awful, everything's terrible, and they're no better off because you're living in this potential dystopian future that you're expecting rather than living in the now. You already created a prison in your mind for yourself by what you've created by the research that you're doing versus just, has it happened yet? No. You know, maybe do a few provisions. Maybe if you feel like you're worried about, you know, your creature comforts or water, whatever you are, that doesn't hurt any time to prep. It really doesn't, to have extra water, extra canned food, whatever it may be. I mean, some people, you know, live in tornado alleys. Some people live in hurricane areas. Some people live like we do with snow and I mean, there's been ice. There's been all kinds of things. So it never hurts to have a little preparation. But I thought that was so important because there's so many people feeling very superior, thinking they're very aware of what's going on and everybody else is asleep. And, you know, I've seen this, the saying, I'm not here to wake the sleeping. I'm only here to wake the sleeping lions. No, we're here for everybody. Humanity we're talking about here, not making divisions and separations, pulling together. Because guess what, folks? Once we lose the fear, the other side doesn't have anything left. Nothing.
Yep. We're free. We're really free. By the way, thanks, Dave. I gotta say, I gotta give a shout out to Dave Petrella. I saw him first on your show, Lorilei. I had him on my show, and he's
Dave.
just got such a wealth of knowledge, and he's so supportive. And I just want you to know, I appreciate you, Dave. You're awesome.
So do I. Yeah, we became friends almost instantly. He found my show by accident. He was going to be on another one of our great shows here with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano on Wednesday and Thursday nights. And he was checking out the network and he found my show and we started talking and we've become friends. And same as, I'm not sure if Constance is still here or not, but both of us know her. She's been on my show before too.
Yeah, she's a great gal. Yeah,
she
very
sure
knowledgeable.
Is. There's probably a ton of comments over on Facebook. So guys, we're not ignoring you. It's just if you're on my Facebook profile or some of the other pages, for some reason, it doesn't show up on StreamYard. So if you do want to join in the conversation, like Dave, I can see he's probably over on UFO Paranormal's page, I'll bet you, because I'm seeing his comments. And sometimes they show up and sometimes they don't. So I'm not ignoring you because I usually go back and there's been this great conversation going on over there and I don't see it till after. So we're not ignoring you, I promise. But I guess our whole point here is, Karen, is that we really wanted to point out the fact that everybody is entitled to their own beliefs. And we weren't knocking anybody. We can't say that enough. I always say it's not my job to judge. But I think this is, you know, again, and I'm being very honest, there are days I have to remind myself, like, why did I choose to come in this time? There has to be some specific reason, but there is. And you know what? this is going to be a time in history where we are going to be telling people this is a very historical time. And you know what? We have a choice. I think that if we can pull together, and I must say this almost every show, if we can pull together, put our differences aside, and really think of how many people are on this planet that we can pull together. There's so many more of us. And I'm not talking about, again, I want to reiterate, I'm no violence. I'm not talking about grabbing your pitchforks and your guns and no, just pulling together. And the thing that we're finding, and it was Joe Montaldo, the owner of this network. I had this conversation with him off air one night that you actually want to find out what's going on in your country, go look at another country's news. It seems like nobody wants to
Yes.
report their own news, but they report everybody else's. But I can't believe the amount of people have no idea about the millions of people that are out in the streets protesting, walking in major cities over in Europe and all around the world, even in different parts of your own country that you may not see. So, because people are feeling so alone, and we are not alone. You're never alone, anyways, even with your guides we just talked about, right, Karen?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're
Mm-hmm.
never alone. At least I'm never alone. And I don't think I don't have any special qualities. I'm pretty sure about that.
Mm-hmm.
In fact,
Oh,
I've made probably every mistake anyone could ever make in their lifetime. But boy, I've sure learned a lot.
that
And
makes you wise.
well, working on it, working on it. I got to tell you too, though, I struggle with my phone, and there is definitely a anxiety you get when you don't check your phone. And when you check your phone, it's kind of like a dopamine rush. So I know I'm being affected by my phone. I
Oh,
just had a
really?
little talk with myself the other day. I said, "Oh, I'm realizing I'm not getting stuff done that I want to do." I'm
Mm-hmm.
going, well, what are you doing with your time, Karen? Like, I really got to talk to myself that way. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going, well, I'm spending a lot of time doing research,
Mm-hmm.
right? What it really means is Telegram. Oh my gosh, I'm getting all the latest stuff on Telegram. I'm getting all the
Mm-hmm.
latest stuff on YouTube. I'm getting all,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty soon, without realizing it, I've got myself into a bad state.
Mm-hmm.
And so I says to myself, Karen, no one's going to come and help you. You got to make up your mind. And, all that sitting too, with me on my phone. So I admit I have a problem when it comes to my phone, putting the damn thing down.
Mm-hmm.
But I do put it down, and I'm putting it down for longer and longer periods of
Yeah.
time. And I'd like to get it down to twice a day. I know 2 hours a day is still a lot of screen
Mm-hmm.
time, but even if I do an hour in the morning and an hour at night or something,
Mm-hmm.
and just breeze through it, not
Mm-hmm.
get so emotionally involved in it. And that's
Mm-hmm.
my job. That's my job to fix that issue so that I can get my boots on, my beautiful mucklucks I got from my daughter, and go tromp around in the sun and the snow.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
Well, I think that is important to turn, the TV off, the radio off, your phone off. And I've said that I've met a lot of people who are heavy duty into research that I'm finding more and more people are saying I'm not doing the amount of research I was doing before. And I wasn't never really looking stuff up. People send me stuff. So unless it's really relevant, but you know this yourself, Karen, and I tell everybody Mondays is my crazy busy day. Tuesdays, I'm still getting caught up because I started this a long time ago. It doesn't always happen, like it didn't happen this weekend, but I strive for every weekend. I take the weekend off. I don't look at my
Mm-hmm.
messages. I don't look at my emails. I do, if I'm going to look at something on my phone, it's something I love because I always say if I'm going to talk the talk, I have to walk the walk. So when I tell people one of the things to help get through this is to find your joy, I better be doing it myself. Like for Christmas, the only thing I maybe posted 3 times on during Christmas and New Year's, and that was it. I didn't look on there. I didn't go on there because it can become very addicting. And please don't think I'm sharing that, not with you. I mean, Karen, or even our listeners, that I think I'm holier than thou. I don't because I get
No,
too
no, no, no,
dragged
no.
down. It's heavy. So I
Yeah.
started saying I need to take a break. And when my partner, the Dell, said the same thing, and he does a show on a lot of this stuff, I realized, holy cow, yeah, we got to start taking breaks here. So that's what I've been
Mm-hmm.
trying to do. It doesn't always happen, but I
Mm-hmm.
do really start to try to strive for it. And same as in the morning, what's our first thing we want to do? Grab our phones, right?
Oh yeah. check the news. Check, not the news like the mainstream news, but Telegram. Oh my goodness,
I
Telegram
don't
is.
go on Telegram because it's addicting unless
You
somebody
join a
tells me.
Telegram group, and pretty soon you got 135
I am
messages
in
waiting.
about
And
60 Telegram groups. I just don't go on there. But the one thing I was going to share that I've started to do is when I wake up in the morning and I want to grab my phone, I don't. I take a breath and then I say thank you. Say thank you for even if it's a couple hours sleep. Thank you for a
mm-hmm,
roof over my head. Thank you for the cup of coffee I'm going to get up and go make. And I just say thank you. And I really do. I usually, I'm not a super religious person, but I do have a relationship with a higher, I call him God. And I have a little conversation with him in the morning, and it
yeah,
doesn't take long, but I really
mm-hmm,
do strive to try and do that because it starts the day off, I find, on a positive note. And I don't always do it. I'm not perfect, but I've been really trying to find, like I said, if I'm going to be out there talking to people about these things, I better be doing it myself. So that's what I've been
mm-hmm.
trying to do. Hmm.
That sounds fantastic.
Hmm.
And it also sets your intention for the
Hmm.
day, you know.
Hmm.
I spend time, in gratitude in the morning as well, but
Hmm.
I also sort of plan my day. What are the
Hmm.
things that I need to get done today that I really
Hmm.
want to do today? What do I want to accomplish today? I may not get them all done, but, I sort of lay out an order of how my day is going to go. And it
Hmm.
really makes a big difference on what I'm able to do. And
I give myself
um,
grace though too, Karen, because if it doesn't get done, that's okay. You know what? The
I always feel
laundry,
guilty that I'm not doing
laundry, no,
stuff.
but for people listening, like the laundry's always
Hmm.
going to be there. The dust
Oh
is
yeah,
always going to be there.
the dust. The dust will
Everything.
always be there.
So say I've got a friend, you, anybody, lots, I have, lots of friends, but I have lots of very small inner circle, which you're a part of. And maybe we need to have a conversation. Maybe we need to talk. We haven't had time to talk. And you know what? That other stuff can wait, I find. Can wait
Hmm.
because I find I usually feel better after I talk to people that I want to be around and spend time with. So that's what I'm trying. The reason why I'm sharing these things with our listeners is it's okay if something doesn't go well or you need a little extra support or whatever, you don't get everything on your to-do list done. That's what part of this is as well. Not only gathering together with humanity, but giving yourself grace too. And be loving and
Hmm.
kind to yourself too. We really, I think this is all about working on ourselves and working like all the things we talked about, Karen. I think it's so important because I think you're right. Like the construct, like I have to be really honest. When you started talking about this, not working so many hours in a day at first, I was like, well, what does that look like? And then I realized I don't need to figure this all out. That it can be done. Just because this is the only way we've been told this it can be done, doesn't mean that's the only way it can be done, right?
Hmm.
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 So let's hope that well, the one thing I've been saying lately too is that you know nothing in life lasts forever. Kind of like a
Hmm.
pendulum, right? And we've really swung to one side. So and it doesn't matter whether it's a series of storms or, tsunami, whatever it may be that seems horrifically awful, and it is when it happens, eventually that's going to clear and we're going to get back to clear weather. And eventually this is going to clear. It has to. It has to.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. I would agree. Things are coming to a head, and people are taking their power. And
Hmm.
I gotta, I gotta give a shout out to the truckers in Canada. They've got
Yes.
some actions they're doing. I don't know if we should talk about it on your show or not,
Let's
but I
do
just
it. Let's do it. Yes. Hmm.
so basically, the truckers have said, we're tired of being bullied, and you
Hmm.
depend on us for everything, the
And we do.
material that you use to build
I
your
still do.
house,
Hmm.
everything you eat, your toys, your clothes, you name it.
Hmm.
We brought it to you. And guess what? We're going to stop. And it reminded me of a joke. Don't worry, it's not too bad. It's just a little bit bad. The joke is there was this guy, and the different parts of his body were having a fight over who was the best. And the brain said, "Oh, I'm the best because because without me, thinking and being able to take care of the rest of you, you wouldn't be around. And the heart says, no, 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 I'm the best, because if it wasn't for me pumping your blood, you wouldn't be alive. And then and all the different organs are all bragging over who's the best. And then the butt, if I'm allowed to say asshole.
Yes. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Show. But anyway, it decides that it's just going to very quietly stop working for a while. And pretty soon the whole system got so bunged up that, that they had to concede that the butt was the most important part of the body. And I know it's just a silly joke, but those of us who don't think we're important, I'm not saying we're assholes, but we could be butts. But
it's true.
We've got stuff that we can do and bring to the table. So the truckers are working guys. Sometimes they're not given the respect that they should get for the kind of work they do. They're probably not getting paid, not getting enough rest and time off, and they've been working tirelessly over these last couple of years to bring us everything we need. Well, now they're going to slow all that down. And so, what are we going to do? Are we going to go, where? I can't get the kind of breakfast cereal I want? Or are you going to go, okay, the shelves don't have the kind of breakfast cereal I want. I'll make another plan. This is for our greater good. So are we going to support, the truckers by making the best we can with what we have? And then that goes back to being a little bit prepped, and having some stuff. It isn't going to hurt you if you have some stuff and you didn't use it. You can always use it and get more stuff if you don't need it, right? So the point is that you wouldn't think that the truckers are that important, but the truckers are can stop the whole functioning of the whole country and countries by slowing things down. And so we don't know who. Yeah, there are some heroes and saviors, but they're all over the place. There's a whole bunch, and there's a part we need to play.
No, but actually, I think this is important because other people, I know Australia, they did this for a while, but here in Canada, what happened was, it was said January 15th, the truckers, they never had to be, they have to be jabbed across the border. And what they've said is no. And they all banded together. And last Wednesday night, there was a major announcement on our news, our national news, saying that had been lifted. They weren't going to be doing this anymore. The government had conceded. Well, the next morning, our crime minister went on and said that was a mistake. They were carrying on as planned. So this went into effect last Friday at 12:01 a.m., which became Saturday. So Karen is very right. So what they are doing is they are leaving from all parts in Canada. I believe some are coming from the US as well. And it's the 23rd of January. There's a website. They're traveling all across Canada from the west to the east, from southern Ontario upwards, and they're all heading to Ottawa, which is our Washington, D.C. for those of you in the US. And probably is it Downing Street for the Prime Minister in the UK. So whatever your leader is. And what they are going to do is jam every thoroughway, everything you can think of. They plan to be in Ottawa, I believe, on the Friday, so the 28th or the 29th. They won't tell us what they've got planned, but I believe part of it is all pulling up all hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of trucks. I believe at the Prime Minister's house. And sorry, I've got a hair in my mouth. They did this about 3.5, 4 years ago with great success when there was a pipeline going through, I think it was in Alberta, where you live, Karen, and they stopped a lot of what was supposed to happen. They've had enough. They're dropping their loads. So yeah, I think it's going to be more than just not having our favorite cereal, because we were already seeing it here. I know where I live. I know we're seeing it in the States. It was on Fox News, actually, 5 at 5. They were showing pictures of a lot of shelves in grocery stores that not a thing to be had. So it's going to be interesting. But you know what? It's for a good cause, because everything you've said, Karen, is absolutely true. I don't think most people realize where all their things come from. And it doesn't matter where
Mhm,
you live in the world.
mhm.
Somebody is, whether they're bringing it on a ship, or they're bringing it on a plane, or they're bringing it wherever. There's very few countries that are completely self-sufficient.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And it won't last forever. And
No.
going without brings contrast. Humans need contrast. We need contrast.
Hmm.
And when things get a bit too cushy, too soft for us, we get a little discontented. And then you go without for a while, and then you get it again. It's kind of like, I guess, surviving the winters, where you live and where I live,
Hmm.
and sometimes it can be so cold
Hmm.
and you just think it's never going to end, but it does. And when the
Hmm.
sun comes up and it warms up, so fabulous. And so this is
Hmm.
just for a while, and it's to make a point. And you see, up till now, what's happened is the common people have been very, very inconvenienced.
Hmm.
But the rulers have been jet setting all over the place, having parties, not worrying about any restrictions. It's like they have a completely different set of laws for them and another whole set for us. And
Hmm.
we've been watching this for about 2 years. So now it's time to inconvenience those people that have made our lives so inconvenient.
Hmm.
And so, for instance, in Alberta, and in other places in Canada, instead of them going out and just protesting downtown, they're actually protesting at the houses of
Hmm.
the people who are creating the
Yeah.
mandates, that are
Hmm.
creating these oppressive rules. And then what happens is their neighbors all get pissed off at them and put
Hmm.
pressure. And then they're in their house with the peeking out from the blinds, and they're scared. Of course, we would never hurt them. That's not the point. We don't even go on their property,
Hmm.
but it's making their life inconvenient the way they've made our life inconvenient. And
Hmm.
so a whole lot of inconvenience needs to get heaped onto the right people,
Hmm.
and that should bring about change. And traditionally in Canada, I think it was about in the 1800s, it was in Eastern Canada. The landlords raised the rent so people couldn't afford their rent and food. And
Hmm.
so the people literally showed up at their houses and demanded them lower the rents. And you know what? It worked.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that this is going to shake up, because I think that these people that have all the power, they've become drunk. They've drunk the Kool-Aid for sure, but I think that they've been given a lot of money and they thought it would be worth it. Well, guess what? It's not going to be worth it, and it's not going to be easy, and we're not going to make it easy for them.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And like I said, we're not seeing what's going on in other countries unless you look at other news sites. And like I said, I think this is really what it's all about, guys, is standing together, pulling together, sharing what's going on in your neck of the woods. I'm so grateful because I'm in one group that was started in South Korea. Is for independent podcasters and news reporters and things like that. So we get to hear from all over the world and share things. A lot of people having a hard time. That's the one thing I do want to say too. When you're building your communities and like-minded people, maybe you're building a new family. Like I said, family doesn't always end with blood. Um, you know what? We kind of take turns. I know within my own group, and I know we've done it for each other. All of us seem to have down days. That's when other people bolster around you and build you back up. That's why it's important to
Mhm.
have people around you that support you. And, you know, like I said, I just listened to Dr. Carrie Madej talking about, and God, my brain's not working. Antibodies, the antibodies that they're using,
Oh,
antibodies.
nano,
Mm-mm. Yeah,
mono. Okay.
yeah, yeah. The mono. My brain is not working, but
Sorry, I didn't know if we're allowed to say.
yeah. I don't know. I'm just being careful. But my whole point is, when you're hearing about this, that people aren't getting this and they can't go in until their day 10 or day 11. After hearing what Carrie Madej had to say, you do not want those antibodies. Believe me, you do not want them. Um, she brought it up, and I can vouch for this, that they were used with cancer treatment quite a few years ago, especially women with breast cancer, and they had incredible responses. They seemed like they were being cured until anywhere from 1 to about 4 years afterwards. And Carrie said what they were seeing was it returned with a vengeance, but it basically melted people's organs, all these women's organs. Like to look at a scan, you wouldn't be able to tell what organ was what, and they passed away very quickly. And she said these are coming from mice and humans mixed together to get these, as well as others. And believe me, she knows what she's talking about. Now, don't get me wrong, nobody's 100% right. But the reason why I have a lot of great faith, I'm going to bring her up again, is because this woman came out of nowhere on my feed in February. I think it was right when this all started. And the stuff she was talking about even sounded a little bit out there because I've known about a lot of this stuff for years. But she was crying at the end of her first video. So I started
Yeah.
to follow her and watch her videos. Every single word that woman has said has come true. The other thing I noticed in her most recent interview is I know she was quite involved with a lot of big names in the truther community, and she didn't say it, but she said it without saying it, is she's kind of stepped back from some of these communities because I think she's starting to realize that a lot of these big things that are getting put on are charging a lot of money. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, lay people, aren't able to go. So she said she was being very careful and choosy about where she was starting to go from now on. I got to give her a lot of credit for that. She
Mm-hmm.
lost everything. The other thing I do want to mention very quickly is I don't know if you got a chance to see it, Karen. I sent it to you. I sent it to Dave too. Um, Dr. Sam White in the UK, very well spoken gentleman, was very involved with working in this field in the last 2 years. And he started to see things he didn't agree with. And he stepped up and said, Well, he was basically recommended to go to a psychiatrist. They fired him basically, took away his medical license after just issuing it to him, and so on. Well, he fought it. He's also working with Dr. Reiner Fullmich over in Europe. Long story short, apparently he won his court case. So at the end of this interview I just watched, the interviewer was asking, what can fellow medical personnel do, like doctors and nurses that have been afraid to speak up? He said, now is the time to speak up because we have
Mm-hmm.
basically broken the barrier for you. I guess this is a international case that is the precedent because he won. He's got everything back that he lost. So like I said, look him up, guys. He's a good guy to listen to hear his interview, and a very, very brave man. Very brave man. So we are making progress. So,
Mm-hmm.
was there anything else you wanted to add, Karen? We've got a few more minutes here, and it's almost over. It goes by so quick.
I know it does. Well, I would like to say a little bit more about the intergalactics that I have
Please.
had experience with,
Mm-hmm.
and the information I get from them is that they will not be coming to save us because we are going to save us, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for us to basically evolve or hit the next level, and we can do it. We can do it. I
Mm-hmm.
know we can do it, and they know we can do it. But just like if you had a child and you kept coddling it and protecting it because, oh, you don't want it to get hurt, it would never learn anything. Same thing goes with us and the intergalactic. So I'm not saying these other people are wrong. I'm not trying to get into a pissing contest when it comes to whose galactics are right or whatever. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that's the intel that I've gotten. It's
Mm-hmm.
our planet, it's our societies, it's our job to go within, to get right with self, get right with God, or whatever you want to call it, universal consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
Allah, whatever you want to call it. It's there, and it's a very real thing. And I have been taken very lovingly, been taken care of so many times. I don't ask for signs anymore because it would just be ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for my guides and my higher power, or
Mm-hmm.
God, if you want to call it God. I don't think of God as being this old man sitting on the throne, saying you're good and you're going to heaven and you're going to hell. I see it very much as a universal consciousness. And those of us who are more in touch with our intuition, we've figured out how to adjust our antenna, our internal sensors, so that we can communicate, and we all can do that. But
Mhm.
it takes in the beginning, it takes some faith. It's almost like you give the universe an inch and the universe meets you with a mile. It's just so incredible what's possible. So I'm not a religious person, and but I am a spiritual person, and I do believe what my
Mhm.
guides tell me. They've never steered me wrong. And I know we can do this. And that's part of why I'm a podcaster and why Lorilei a podcaster, so that we can tell people this is possible. This is
Mhm.
something that is not just, we're not any kind of exceptional human beings.
Mhm.
We are just as flawed as everybody
Yeah.
else, but we opened ourselves up and took a chance and took the steps necessary so that we could have these amazing relationships. They don't take, they're a bit different than our human relationships, but they're still relationships.
Well, sometimes too, if it's meant to happen, sometimes spirit will hit you over the head, and I don't. I that's not physically, but it'll keep coming back to you and keep coming back to you and keep coming back to you, and you'll be getting that push, you'll be getting that push, you'll be getting that push because the time is now, is what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just because like I'm very clairaudient, which means I can hear, but no, I'm not hearing voices. By the way, it's very hard to explain. It's in your own voice for me. Some people
Mm-hmm.
hear a different voice. Everybody's different, but the
Mm-hmm.
point is they are there. They're there because. And the other thing I really want to point out to people, we are here for a reason. I want to point out too, if you are feeling suicidal, please reach out to your local suicide support hotline because this isn't going to last forever and we need you here. You are here for a reason. So please reach out. You are never alone. I've never met so many people that say they feel so alone, even in a room full of people, and you are not alone. If you're able to, if you're willing to reach out, there are so many different groups on Facebook for anything. Um, Anything you can find, maybe that brings you joy. Maybe you want to talk about certain things. There's a group for almost everything out there. But then again, for mental health, that's so important when we're talking about taking care of ourselves, right, Karen?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. So I
Yeah,
want,
sometimes the hardest thing is to ask for help. We
yes.
think we should be able to fix everything ourselves. And no, sometimes we need a little bit of help, a little bit of encouragement.
And
Yeah.
there's no shame either. That's why we're sharing with you about, things that what we're sharing, what we'd like to do or how we do things. It's not because we're saying we're better than everybody else. That's why we've shared some of the things that we're just as much at fault for things. We're human too. We want you to realize that. But this is about love. This is about pulling together, and it needed to happen. It really did with the way the world is going. It really needed to happen. And it's almost like we got too top heavy in one direction. And I believe that part of being on this planet is balance. That's why we have
Mm-hmm.
the duality, if you will, night versus day, cold versus light, and what have you, right? So it's time to bring
Mm-hmm.
balance back by us waking up and realizing who we really are versus what we've always been told. And I'm telling you, when you start to hear about some of the things that people are doing and capable of, it's going to blow people's minds because it's starting already. It has been for a long time, but it's going to open up things even more and more and more. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, before we go, we got just a minute or two, and I'm going to let people know where to find you. I remembered, I forgot last week with our wonderful friend April, who Karen
Laura
introduced us
Lee,
to.
your volume is down a little bit. Is
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 it?
it your
I'll
yeah,
try and
it's
fix
just
that.
down a little bit.
Is that
I
better
can
now?
still hear you, but
Is that better now?
no, it's muted.
Oh, I don't know why. Hang on.
Well, not completely
No,
muted,
I
just
know, but I fixed. Hang on, I'll unplug it back in. We're almost done anyway, so
there.
hang
That's
on.
better. That's
I
better.
can't hear you if I don't have the mic. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes my headphones pull out. With StreamYard, what they did with the iPhone with the new update, I never used to use headphones. It literally sounds like half a decibel. Like I would have to
Mm.
literally be like this to hear you, like because I can't hear the phone. That's why I've got headphones on. But what I want to show you guys is Karen makes wonderful organite, and she was very kind to. I got these two pieces from her. I'm going to tell people where to find them, and then I'm going to show you a few things because we just got a minute or two. Karen knew that I love angels. This one has a beautiful angel in it. I hope I'm not cutting it off. It's gorgeous. And this one has a skull because I love skulls. I always keep them with me. I told you that, Karen. I have them with me. But I want to share with you, I make resin. And you know what? A few people have asked. Now, this is from my friend John. John, I haven't forgotten you. He won this in a prize for
Beautiful.
me. This has crystals in it, by the way. I make these pieces, so watch for my show store. It's got crystals in the back. I'll show you this piece. They're all hand painted. There's another charging plate. We've got some pendulums. And you're going to see me start using these in some shows because I'm going to try and do a few readings if I don't have a guest. And be doing a little bit of teaching sometimes. This one's a Mickey Mouse one I've made. It's hard to see, but it's got little, I'll try and move it over. There we go. It's got little Mickey Mouses in there. So keep
Beautiful.
your eyes open for that. But like I said, Karen has beautiful organite. But where can they find you? So you can tell them where they can find your organite and where they can find you to work with you, your podcast, and everything else.
Oh, okay. So my website, where basically all my podcasts, I add about once a month. I catch up and I add them to the website, and also I have a lot of free online resources that you can make good use
Definitely.
of. Also on my website, it's www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. KARENHOLTON, healthcoach.com. I'm a different kind of health coach. So if you want to check out my shop, you can help to support the work because there's a lot of expenses that go with running a podcast and maintaining a small business. And I've got orgone generators, all kinds of shapes and
Mm-hmm.
sizes. I've got a selection of crystals. I've got PDFs that are available of my different lessons. And then, of course, I've got lots of services. And the most recent services that I'm in the process of adding are for people who are newly awakened and or have what we would call medical regret, which means if you've had a procedure and you're wishing you hadn't done it and you want to know what protocols are available or different things that you can do. I'm not a doctor. I can't give you health advice, but I can provide information and direction. And for those that are newly awakened, I can answer questions. I can spend time talking to you about what you know or what you've learned, and perhaps again point you in a direction which is the next logical step for doing your research, things like that. But I've got all kinds of services available. And then, of course, I'm on YouTube, and it's Karen Holton TV. And I'm also on Odyssey at Karen Holton TV. Thought I'd keep it all consistent.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I want to thank Dave put here. Thanks, Lorilei. Thanks, Karen. Great show. Hope you have a nice night. We hope the same for you, Dave. Now,
Yeah, thank you, Dave.
I want to thank you all for being here. And if you ever want to get a hold of me, you can reach out to me at facebook.com/The Angel Rock. I also have two Facebook groups, one Paranormal University for all things paranormal, and the Angel Rocker Tribe for all things esoteric and many things we discussed this evening. I will be back next week, same time, same space, and I'm just about kicking myself in the butt because I can't remember who I booked. I have great guests. They're always great guests that I have here. And Maker Movie says, see you on Odyssey. Thanks for joining us. We're just finishing up right now. I hope you come back and check us out again because Karen's got some great shows, and I will be back same time, same space next week, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I wish you all so much love and light, and a good morning, good afternoon, or evening, wherever you may be. Again, thanks, Karen, for being here. And thank you to
My
all being
pleasure.
here, too. See you next week.
Thank you.